communication for health education. You must be wondering what is the need to learn communication while you are doing medical studies. Communication is one skill which is one of the most important skills a doctor should have. As you will practice in your clinic, you will be called upon to not only diagnose and prescribe medication to a patient, but also convincing him into changing in behavior towards more compliance. So your treatment will be effective only if the patient is compliant. As doctor, you may become professors and may be called upon to take lectures for MBBS students every other day. There you would definitely like your message to go across all the students attending the lecture, and so that they are not bored or your information does not go across. You may be called upon to educate general public regarding good health practices in any area. There you should have the communication skill so as to go down to their level of understanding and putting facts in a way that the general public understands according to their understanding and their level of education. In addition, as doctors, you will be called upon to speak in various symposiums, conferences. There again you will be talking to your fellow doctors, and you should be able to communicate your ideas, your facts across in a very interesting manner to your colleagues. You will be attending symposiums, conferences, workshops, and you should be able to differentiate between these different terms, and you should know what to expect when you attend a conference, what to expect when you attend a symposium or a workshop, etc. Hence, communication is one of the major skills that a doctor should understand, and this lecture intends to give you various types of communications that you can utilize in your day-to-day practice or lectures or conferences, etc. The components of communication process: the sender, that is the source of communication; receiver, that is the intended audience; the message, that is content of the communication; the channels, the medium which are used can be interpersonal, mass media, or traditional or folk media; and finally the feedback. Channels of communication: interpersonal communication, that is face to face, can be like lecture or health talk. Face to face or interpersonal communication is direct, hence it is more persuasive and effective in changing the behavior of the listeners than any other form of communication. It is particularly important in influencing the decisions of the undecided, that is those among the group who are yet undecided whether to accept the behavior change or not. Face to face interaction helps them take the decision. Hence it is superior to mass media for motivational effect on the listeners. When the message is relayed by mass media, even then it is picked up by interpersonal networks and are discussed then among debates and discussion among informal groups, and then gradually it forms opinion and influence the decision. So even mass media ultimately works through interpersonal communication. Then mass media, which like TV, television, radio, newspaper, etc. The advantage of mass media is that it reaches a large population in a short time. But the disadvantage is that it is only a one-way channel of communication. The feedback mechanism is not present, so the speaker or the messenger does not know whether the message is being well received or not, appreciated or not. Being impersonal media, it is not very effective in changing the behavior per se. Then traditional or folk media. This involves informal gatherings, religious meetings, etc. Every community has its own traditional folk media like Nautanki, Bura Katha, Hari Katha, etc. And these channels are close to cultural values of the rural population and can be utilized for effective communications intended at behavior change, and hence the health messages communicated through these channels are effective. Then what are the barriers of communication? That is, when you speak up, advise your patient or to general public or to a group of doctors, what are the barriers of communication which will prevent your message from going across and wasting your effort? This can be physiological, that is difficulties in hearing, in the expression of the messenger. Can be psychological, that is if the group that you are addressing to already has some emotional disturbance, neurosis, or have level of intelligence which are below than what is required to understand your language, the way you are putting it, or there may be language difficulties. Then environmental barriers, noise, too much of congestion. Cultural barriers, that is the people are not able to understand the language, or they are culturally so different that they don't understand various terms that you are using, or the people are illiterate. So different levels of illiteracy, customs, beliefs, religious attitudes, they all affect how the message is conveyed across the audience. So these barriers should be identified and removed before you take up your health education. Otherwise, the health education that you will deliver will not achieve the desired behavioral change and it will be wasted. Your effort will be wasted. A comparison of one-way communication versus two-way communication. Sometimes one-way communication may be more appropriate, sometimes two-way communication may be more appropriate. One-way communication is also known as didactic method. Two-way communication is also known as Socratic method. One-way communication, the flow of communication is one way. Example are lectures, messages through television, radio. The drawbacks of one-way communication are that the knowledge is imposed, passive learning of the audience. Learning is authoritative, that is you accept what is taught. No participation from the audience and no feedback from them. So because of these, it mostly does not directly influence human behavior. Two-way communication, on the other hand, both the communicator and the audience take part. Audience may even raise questions and they may even add their information, their ideas and their opinions. Examples of two-way communication are focus group discussion, panel discussion, symposium, which we will discuss in little later in the lecture. Two-way communication is an active process of learning and a more democratic process of learning, and hence more likely to influence human behavior than one-way communication. One mnemonic is suggested that one-way communication sounds like dictation, didactic method, and two-way communication sounds like democratic, that is Socratic method. Then verbal communication versus non-verbal communication. Verbal communication obviously is the traditional way of communication, that is by word of mouth. Verbal communication is more persuasive than non-direct or written communication. Non-verbal communication, on the other hand, conveys the message by bodily movements, gestures, facial expressions. Even not saying anything may convey the disapproval. So at times you might employ non-verbal communication to communicate more effectively than by spoken word. Formal and informal communication. Formal communication is, it follows a line of authority. For example, an office order, memorandum, and so mostly it is written but follows a line of authority. Informal or grapevine communication. It exists in all organizations and sometimes it is more active. Sometimes to get your message across, it may be more appropriate to use the grapevine communication for it to have far-reaching effects. Visual communication is making a visual impact on the audience, like charts, graphs, pictograms, posters, maps. They are just put up, and as people see them during a lecture or in the streets, they have a visual impact. And telecommunication means a process of communicating over distance using electromagnetic instruments. Example is all of you know, radio, television, internet. They are mass telecommunication. Telephone, telegraph are point-to-point telecommunication systems. We discussed about types of communication. Now we will have heard about methods of communication, that is how to use the types of communication by which methods. The methods of communication can be in individual approach, that is individual health education, like the kind that you will encounter when you have a patient visit in your clinic. Group level approach, when you are called upon to teach health education to a group, a small or a large group of people. And mass level approach, that is health education of the general public. The individual approach as personal or interpersonal contact during clinic visits or home visits. Personal letters also constitute individual approach. Group level approach, lectures, demonstration and discussion methods. Various types of discussion methods which are there that we will have small discussion upon during these lectures. Group discussion, panel discussion, symposium, workshop, conferences, seminar, role play, debate, Delphi method. Then mass level approach is general public is educated through television, radio, newspaper, posters, health exhibition and museums, folk methods, and internet also. Individual level approach during personal interviews in the consultation chamber of the doctor, or during home visits by doctor or ANM or ASHA, that is health education can be delivered by other health functionaries also during home visits. In individual level approach, the patient listens more readily because it's one-to-one approach. And public health nurses, health visitors, even health inspectors, as they regularly make home visits, can be utilized for educating people by individual level approach. In individual level approach should first create an atmosphere of friendship, also allow the individual to be educated to talk as much as possible. The advantages of individual approach is that one can discuss, argue and ultimately persuade the listener for behavior change. It provides an opportunity to the listener for asking questions, and even the one who is educating can ask questions if it affects the behavior of the listener. But the disadvantage is number reached is small. Lecture method, or also known as chalk and talk. For a lecture to be effective, the group size should be less than 30. Unfortunately, we see much larger group size, but ideal group size should be less than 30. The lecture duration optimum is 15 to 20 minutes. And in addition to chalk, though it is known as chalk and talk method, other audiovisual aids may also be used. For example, flip charts. Flip charts are a series of charts or posters, each with one illustration pertaining to the topic being taught. These are flashed or shown to the audience one after the other. and it is designed in such a way to hold the attention of the group. Flannel graph. Flannel graph is a piece of rough flannel or khadi which is fixed over a wooden frame. It is used for displaying cutouts, photos, etc. These cutouts and photos have a rough surface at the back and hence they self-adhere to the flannel when put on it. The pictures displayed are again in a logical series to help maintain continuity and holds the attention of the audience. Other things that can be used during the lecture are exhibits, films and charts. Advantages of the lecture method is that it is more economical than individual approach because you can address a lot of people at one time. It requires less resources obviously because one person is reaching so many people. The disadvantage is that the learning is passive because the students are involved to a minimum extent, and as the learning is passive, it does not stimulate thinking or problem solving capacity, and the comprehension may vary among the students, and therefore the health behavior of the listeners may not always be affected. Demonstrations. Demonstrations are carefully prepared presentation to show how to perform a skill or a procedure. The procedure or skill that is to be carried out is carried out step by step before the audience. The demonstrator ascertains that the audience is actually understanding each step of the procedure. The audience is involved in discussion. They can ask questions in between. Advantages of demonstration method are it dramatizes the skill and arouses interest in the audience. It persuades the onlookers to adopt the recommended steps. As they see it, they believe it. So it upholds the principle of seeing is believing. It can effectively bring desirable change. The person who are onlookers are likely to adopt the practice that is being taught. So it has a high motivational values. Demonstration is commonly used in the field of environmental sanitation, that is how to construct a sanitary latrine, installation of a hand pump. In maternal and child health, that is how to appropriately prepare oral rehydration solution. Control of certain diseases like scabies, how to apply the benzyl benzoate. Another method is group discussion. In this, there is a group of people who sit in a face-to-face situation. For optimum impact, the group size should not be less than 6 and should not be more than 12. And these 6 to 12 members include one group leader whose duty is to initiate the subject discussion, to help proper progress of the discussion, prevent side conversation, and encourages everyone to participate. In the end, the group leader would sum up the discussion. Among these 6 to 12 members is one recorder, a person who writes down everything that is being discussed. Then the recorder prepares a report on the issues that were discussed and the agreements that were reached in the end. The participants sit in a circle so that each is fully visible to all the others, and the members should observe some rules. They should express their ideas clearly and concisely. Also, they should listen to what others have to say. So they should not interrupt when others are speaking. They should make only relevant remarks. That is, they should not go off topic. And they should accept criticism gracefully and help the group to reach some conclusion. Group discussion is more useful if the members already know each other. After a well-conducted group discussion, the group would have arrived at some good decisions which no individual member would have thought of if they think alone. Advantages of a group discussion. It is a very effective method of communication because the listeners are discussing among themselves. So it is very effective in reaching decisions, and these decisions are more likely to be adopted as group acceptance has a binding effect. The limitations of group discussions is that some people may be too shy to participate in the discussion and may not put forward their opinion. Some of them may dominate the discussion. Some members may keep talking about topics and may deviate from the subject and hence render the group discussion irrelevant. It is the duty of the group leader so as to guide the discussion in such a way to minimize these limitations. The figure on the left side shows a well-conducted group discussion where everyone has their input, and right side figure shows a dominated group where few people nominating people have put their opinion and the shy ones have not participated. What is panel discussion? Panel discussion is that there is a panel of 4 to 8 people who are qualified about the topic that is to be discussed in the panel discussion. So 4 to 8 qualified persons, they sit and talk about the topic in front of a large audience. The panel consists of a chairman and 4 to 8 speakers. How does panel discussion proceed? The chairman opens the meeting in front of the audience and welcomes the group, introduces the panel speakers to the group, introduces the topic, and invites the panel speakers to start discussing and present their point of view. Then the discussion begins, and the discussion is spontaneous. That is, there is no specific agenda, no set order of speaking, and no set speeches. The discussion is spontaneous. The chairman's duty, therefore, is to keep the discussion going in the right direction and develop the train of thought. After the main aspects of the subjects have been explored by the panel speakers, the audience is invited to ask questions and give suggestions. For a successful panel discussion, the discussion should be spontaneous and natural. If the members who are qualified but not acquainted with this method, they should be given a preliminary training. They should have a preliminary meeting, prepare material on the subject and decide upon the method and plan of presentation. Panel discussion can be an extremely effective method of education provided it is properly planned and guided. What is symposium? Symposium is a series of speeches on a selected topic. There are few experts and each expert presents one aspect of the subject briefly. There is no discussion among the experts. Unlike panel discussion, the expert would come, give their prepared speech and go away, followed by another expert which will discuss another aspect of the subject and will go away. So there is no discussion among the experts or panelists. In the end, when all the speeches are delivered, all the aspects have been discussed, the audience may raise questions. The chairman makes a comprehensive summary at the end of the entire session. What is Delphi method? Delphi method is a structured communication technique and relies on a panel of experts. This is not physical presence of experts, this is not required. The experts answer the questions in 2 or more rounds. The questions are sent to them individually. They answer the questions and there are more than one round of such answering. After each round, one facilitator provides a summary of the experts' forecasts from the previous round to each, as well as the reason or justification for these forecasts. So the experts are encouraged to revise their earlier answers in the light of the replies of the other members of the panel and the justification provided by them. So during this process, the range of answers will decrease and the group will converge on the correct answer. So finally the process is stopped after a predefined stop criterion is reached, which can be number of rounds have been completed, or an achievement of one consensus has been reached, or the results are now stable. It is the same results are emerging after each round. And if there are any numbers involved, the mean and median scores of the final rounds determine the results of the Delphi method. Workshop. You must have heard this term number of times. Now, what is a workshop? Workshop consists of a series of 4 to 5 meetings with emphasis on individual works. That is, each individual participates in the work, obviously with the help of consultants and other resource personnel. The workshop is divided into small groups. That is, the participants are divided into small groups, and each group chooses a chairman and a recorder. The individuals in the groups then solve part of the problem in the group through their personal effort with the help of consultants. That is, they can ask questions, they can take help of consultants and resource personnel, and finally they contribute to the group work and group discussion and leave the workshop with a final plan of action on the problem. So learning takes place in a friendly, happy and democratic atmosphere under expert guidance. The workshop provides each participant opportunities to improve his effectiveness as a professional worker. Role playing is another interesting method of communicating what you want to say. It is also known as sociodrama. Here, the situation is dramatized by the group. Members of the group, a few members, enact the scenario as they have observed or from their own experience. So the few members from the audience group only, they enact the scenario. The audience is not passive but is actively involved. How? The audience can suggest alternative solutions to what the role play member is doing. They can come up and actively demonstrate how they feel a particular role should be handled. So role play is followed by a discussion of the problem that was shown during the role play. It is useful in discussion of problems with human relationships. For example, training the medical students in the interview technique. So role play is also particularly useful for health education of school children. Optimum group size in the role play is 25. Conferences and seminars. Now these are mostly for continued medical education or CME. They are held as conferences and seminars. There is a large component of commercialized CME, that is, the funds are arranged either through participant fees and other contributors, and it is held on a massive scale. So usually it is held at a large scale, national, regional, state level or even international level. Duration of the conference may range from half a day to 1 week, and the conference may cover a single topic or have a comprehensive theme covering some topics. Use of audiovisual aids is very frequent. Multimedia is very often used during conferences. Then mass approach is teaching the community at large. It is meant to educate the whole community, and so it is useful in transmitting messages to people in the remotest places. So if you want to pass on the message to the remotest place, because the number of people who are reached in mass approach is in millions. So therefore there is high return for the time and money invested in it. But it is only one-way communication and generally inadequate per se in changing the behavior of the listeners. But it is useful for creating political will in favor of health, raising health consciousness of people. People will get the message on the mass media and slowly they will discuss it and start demanding from their politicians, and so it will create a political will. The mass approach media are television, radio, internet. Internet is a fast growing media and holds a large potential for health communication. Health related literature from WHO and other agencies is available online. Also, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the country has information available on its website. Newspapers reach only the literate. Other printed material like magazines. Direct mailing. people who form opinion can be sent newspapers directly, like panchayat, village leaders, etc. It's a kind of personal mass media. Posters and billboards which are put up intended to catch the eye of the person. The message should be simple and artistic so as to catch the eye. The motives such as humor and fear are often introduced into the posters to hold the attention of the public. And they are placed at places where people have some time to spend. For example, bus stops, railway stations, health centers. And these posters should be frequently changed to have an effect. Health museum and exhibitions. There is a big element of personal communication through workers to those who are visiting these health museums. Printed literature is also often distributed. It is a combination of personal and impersonal method. Folk media is a particularly powerful medium, and like kirtans, katha, folk songs, puppet shows are utilized to dispense health education. The folk media has roots in culture.